What is the most dangerous thing people don't realize is all that dangerous? The pin setters in a bowling alley. They are well over 1,000 pounds of mechanized death by steel and moving belts. Some of the scariest moments of my life have been me running/slapping the 6 feet between me and the emergency shutoff behind the front desk as a toddler runs, slipping and sliding down the lane while their parents or guardians are laughing by the table because they thought it was cute. Even experienced pin setter mechanics have been crushed to death during scheduled maintenance. Pin setters are machines of convenience, entertainment, and death. Psychological/emotional bullying among siblings. Parents too often label it as sibling rivalry or teasing, thinking it's harmless. But if left unchecked, that ish can cause lifelong damage. When we're kids, we're forming our identities and understanding of the world, and all of that can be very easily influenced. Insecurities can turn into mental illnesses, which can wreak havoc on every aspect of their lives. I'm not saying parents should constantly be monitoring their kids' interactions and constantly protecting them from one another, but you need to listen when one of your kids says the other is going too far. If one of your kids starts developing insecurities, you need to help them, and you need to talk to the other one and get them to lay off. Passengers should never rest their feet on the dash of a car, because when that airbag does its thing, it only has one way to go. Several terrible things can happen at this point. 1. Your knees get pushed into your face, and I won't paint that picture. Or 2. Your hips are dislocated. Ice/black ice is extremely dangerous. My grandpa was putting salt down after an ice storm the day after Christmas. My dad was in town visiting and insisted Grandpa stay off the ice. Grandpa fell right in front of my dad, hit his head hard, woke up once in the hospital while Grandma was by his side, and then passed. When I see those fail videos of people slipping on ice, I cringe. If you set the headrest in your car too low, it can break your neck during a car crash. It shouldn't even be called a headrest. It should be called a head stop. It can act as a wedge during whiplash, breaking your neck on the return swing. The middle of the headrest should be aligned with your ears. This is particularly important for women who often set it too low, so it doesn't cause discomfort when their hair is tied in a ponytail or bun. Being knocked out. I guess a lot of people know that it is dangerous, but probably a good amount don't. We see it in movies all the time. People punched in the head with fists, chairs, pistols, etc. Then they wake up somewhere else with maybe a minor headache, but are pretty much good to go. I'm not a doctor, but I can only assume that sustaining head trauma that is enough to render you unconscious is something pretty serious. You have to go to a hospital after something like that. You don't just walk it off. Also, fighting in general is quite dangerous, yet you see people getting in physical altercations all the time, for minor things. I've seen a video in my hometown where one guy punches another in the head, who then falls down back on his head and just starts twitching. There is a very good chance that the guy just ruined his own life and the life of the other dude. And for what? Because he looked at him funny or something? Clothes and water, specifically long dresses like wedding dresses. Lots of people have died doing wedding shoots in shallow waters at the beach, or rivers, or even swimming pools. Those dresses get very heavy, catch lots of drag, and easily tangle around limbs. Cleaning due to harsh chemicals. A few years ago, I was working at Best Buy. One of the delivery truck guys called out sick, so I volunteered to be the second guy in the truck. About midway through the day, we stopped at McDonald's to use the bathroom. When we walked in, we were instantly hit with the most acrid, intense smell of chlorine. My eyes instantly watered, and it stung my nose and hurt just to breathe. Didn't think anything more than, someone used a lot of bleach to clean. The next day, both me and the other delivery guy had called out sick because we both could barely breathe. It took us a few days to get back to work. It wasn't until after I figured out someone probably mixed ammonia and bleach together to clean. Concert venues, nightclubs, and bars, especially if they are packed. If you are having any issues trying to move around during that event, it could be a spell for disaster. People don't realize how quick things can go wrong, especially in crowded areas. Always have an exit strategy and look for the location of the emergency exits. People tend to leave from where they came in. If the emergency exits are very few and far between, or even locked up and the place is packed, do yourself a favor and leave. Incidents like the Rhode Island Station fire and Pulse nightclub are a few examples of how dangerous these places can get. Seriously, have a plan in the back of your mind on how to get out of a packed establishment. It could save your life and the lives of those who care about you. In the eastern United States, white-tailed deer. Due to humans, their predators are gone and they're massively overpopulated. There are more white-tailed deer on the eastern seaboard now than there were when the Europeans arrived. Motor vehicle accidents involving whitetails kill about 100 people a year. Most of these involve people who don't want to wear a helmet on a motorcycle. Since the whitetail's natural environment has been developed and segmented, they have no choice but to browse on agriculture. Tick-borne diseases like Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever impact more and more humans every year. And don't get me started on prions and alpha-gal syndrome, because you're probably bored and ready to move on to the next comment anyway. Laughing or talking while you have food in your mouth. Back in 2020, my wife and I were watching Modern Family while eating dinner. I laughed hard while I had food in my mouth, for some reason throwing my head back while laughing. A bit of food went down my windpipe and I started choking. Couldn't breathe or speak. My wife didn't know what was going on. Started wandering, looking for someone to help. Vision started going black. I had resigned myself to death. I genuinely thought that was it for me. Suddenly, it dislodged and came back into my mouth. I was saved. I have never been so sure that I was going to die before in my life. Hoofed animals. Yes, they can be domesticated. Yes, they can look majestic, but most of them weigh hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. If they get mad or threatened, they will kick and trample you to death. Growing up in a rural area, I was taught never to walk behind a horse. Now I see videos of people treating horses like house cats. Most wildlife. Moose are huge, nimble, aggressive, and territorial as F. And those antlers are really sharp. They can easily kill you. Squirrels are fluffy and cute, but those teeth can literally kill you, because they are designed to crack hard nuts. Respect all wildlife. They will defend themselves if they feel they have to towards a threat. They don't know what your intentions are. It's all instinct. A rip current in the ocean. People who come to the ocean once or twice in their lives don't think about how dangerous it can be. They can be spotted before going into the water if you know what to look for. It doesn't have to be really rough also. People get sucked out and drowned really quickly. Living in South Florida, we see tourists do this all the time. They're usually from Wisconsin or some other Midwest state. Hippos. I have seen so many people wanting to go somewhere so they see and touch a hippo and hug it and all that fun stuff. If you do that, you will die violently. Hippos are incredibly territorial and insanely aggressive. They are also very fast and will even catch Usain Bolt without an issue. They even have one of the strongest bite forces in the world that will just crush the ish out of you. They are not cute and huggy. They will F your ish up. Sound. Going to a club or concert without earplugs even once can give you a permanent ringing in your ear. It can get so bad that people unalive themselves because of it, yet almost no one I meet seems to take it as seriously as they should. My dad went to 3 concerts in his 20s and he's had a high-pitched noise in his ears for the past 40 years. I went clubbing once and I've had ringing and oversensitivity to noise for the past 8 months. It will likely go away, but it was absolutely awful and made me depressed for a few months. Just buy earplugs. $15 can save you a lifetime of suffering. Smoke. We see people running in and out of blazing buildings on films and TVs all the time. I've been overcome by smoke. It happens really, really fast. I ran into a burning building to save a friend. He heard me shouting his name and luckily stood on my, now, sleeping head. We both made it out alive, but only just, and very luckily. Detoxing from alcohol. So many people underestimate how severe their physical addiction is to alcohol, and don't realize that cutting it off cold turkey is incredibly dangerous and can kill you. It's one of only 2 withdrawals that can kill you, the other being benzodiazepines. Sleep apnea. So bad for you. Basically starving your brain of oxygen while you sleep. You don't get enough REM sleep, which is awful for you. Your heart beats like you're exercising to try and keep up. Well, it should be resting, and if it's bad enough and untreated, you can just straight up die. If you're snoring really bad and regularly waking up groggy, tell your doctor, no matter how old you are. CPAPs are a B, but they'll extend your life expectancy by years or decades. Driving with a full bladder. A friend of mine is a paramedic. I once asked her what was the most surprising thing she learned. She told me that if you have a full bladder, find someplace and go. She indicated that a full bladder is like a balloon, and that if one is in an accident, that balloon will burst. Sepsis. Pesticides. Not only are they one of the primary causes of infertility now, but they also cause immense developmental and hormonal damages. They are carcinogenic, long-lived, and function at extremely low concentrations, over 1,000 times lower than the FDA deems as safe. They are, for all intents and purposes, completely untested. They test solely on male rats for a maximum of 9 months. Cat scratch, or literally any animal scratch. Rabies symptoms won't immediately show and can even take a year to give a symptom. And once you reach that point, you're effing dead. I know a lot of people dismissing small animal scratches in my community. They didn't mind the cuts until someone died from our town due to rabies. Rugs in the home of elderly people are a death sentence. In one of my nursing classes, we learned that if an elderly person suffers a fall with injury, typically meaning a bone fracture or break, the impact that it has on their quality of life and mobility significantly lowers their life expectancy. When I started working, I started observing this firsthand. Preventing falls is absolutely imperative for maintaining quality of life. Rugs are a freaking death sentence, and nobody realizes it. The corners sometimes curl up, very easy to trip on if you don't pick your feet up when you walk, as many elderly people do not. Sometimes they slip under your feet, especially smaller ones, and often they are temporary coverage for hard surfaces, meaning once you slip, you aren't landing on a padded surface. You're slamming against hardwood, tile, etc. It may be okay for younger people and adults, but at a certain point, the chronic impacts of those injuries are too severe. Vehicle tire malfunctions are the cause of 30,000 to 80,000 accidents every year. Something as simple as inspecting your tires and checking tire pressure regularly can save you and/or someone else's life. Tylenol. Every year there are many incidents in the USA of accidental overdose deaths, or in slightly better case scenarios, liver destruction, requiring a transplant. Even a small amount above the max dose can severely F up your liver. Too much mixed with alcohol can easily kill you. Tylenol is an incredibly dangerous drug, and it's treated so casually.